Today I'm going to play Chris Gumbley's Mind the Gap. For me, this comes from a really old ABRSM exam book, 2008 to 2013, but it appears in his Solo Flight for Clarinet book. We're going to try something different today. We're going to go from the end of the piece, because this piece is really hard. And when you're at home and you're practicing, it's a really bad idea to get in the habit of going beginning to end, beginning to end, beginning to end, because you don't really give certain parts of the piece enough love. Especially the end. So what we're going to do is we're going to go from the end. It's not going to make much sense for a little bit, but what I'll do is I'll just quickly play the beginning, the tune. Okay, so that's a tune. Let's go to the end. We have straight eights. So the beginning of the piece is all nice and jazzy. We have now straight eights. Ba-dum-bum, ba-da-da-da-da, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, so we have, what's 5-4? Crazy. So get out your pencils, because there are going to be an absolute truckload of right, lefts, rights, and a whole bunch of things that are going to trap you. So for example, this is what we have. What has happened? We've had to do certain left-hand or right-hand fingerings because of the limitations of clarinet. When we have a D flat, there's only one way to play it, so therefore a preceding note, such as a G flat, has to be the right hand. This is going to come as a surprise to you, so put down R right above that note to warn you. It's like this big red flag saying, watch out, you're going to have to do a right hand because there's a D flat coming. Now ideally you can absorb a lot of music all at once, like you sing the entire bar. So you can see it coming, but it doesn't help to have a little bit of reinforcement in case you're playing it and you're starting to second guess yourself. And then it happens again because we have an E flat. My clarinet doesn't have an alternate E flat like many out there. So because we've got an E flat, we have to use a left hand C. So you put down an L for left hand C, maybe pencil in your E flat if you keep missing it. And then what happens? We've stumbled across one of the limitations of clarinet, in that we've gone from an A flat, which requires a left hand, then we've got a D flat, which requires the right hand, and then we've got an E flat, but we don't have the left hand E flat. So what do? We've gone A flat, which is only one, and we've gone left then right, but we've only got a right. What do? So you've got a couple of options here. We can put a gap after the A flat and jump to the left hand E flat, D flat. Or you can try and be rhythmic here. We're going to swap from the right hand to the left hand D flat. Like that, but we're going to do it rhythmically to help with the count. 1, 2, and 3, and a 4. No, 1, da 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 dum, da da da. So where the da 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 is us moving from the right hand to the left hand D flat to E flat, and you can have enough time to do that. Molto rallentando. It's meant to be reasonably quiet around here. Alright, let's go back to halfway through this quite long phrase, or this long section. We're going to do kind of like the second half of the core tune. So actually no we're not. We're going to go a little bit before that. So we're in bar 44. We have this nice little swing groove. It doesn't appear in the piece before this. The style has appeared before, but not the notes. The notes are a little bit different. And it finishes on the tonic. We're in B flat major, so it's quite nice and refreshing to just finish on that one. What do we have here? We have an excuse to go through two of our different E flat fingerings. Side key E flat, so 1, 2 and a side key, and also the banana key, so the 1, 2 and the little banana key in the middle there. So we've got, I like to use the side key there, but then the banana key is really great for when you're around the throat note area and you're not having to go down the instrument. So it's a good opportunity to practice that. Ooh, okay. Now, it's a nice happy jazzy piece. Well, I like to interpret it as a reasonably happy chirpy piece. So what I'm doing is I'm ghosting the on beats. So boo doo ba doo da doo da boo da boo da. Ooh, and then I inverted it. But that's a cool way to just make it sound a little bit more interesting rather than just this flat swing. Well, when I say flat, I mean like deadpan swing the whole way. And to get more of that ba-doo, ba-da, ba-doo, 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 ba, that kind of feel. That is that part. So yes, make sure you keep those fingers incredibly close to the keys. It's in fact, there's a little note here in the bottom of the music that says that's part of the whole point of this piece is to make sure that your fingers are really, really close, or else some of the stuff is very, very, very challenging. So one more time. Doesn't make sense. Ooh, a few fumbles. Let's get back. So we're now halfway through what is really the main tune of this piece. Where are we? We're like bar 36. Whoa, mouthful. Again, pencil. There are going to be places here where you have to use a left hand or a right hand. But a couple of hints. There's a lot of B flats in this piece, and a B flat is going to be predominantly played as the top two keys. This is taking up your left hand. So your right hand is way more free to get itself on top of those right hand keys. Rather than, say, the left hand, which you can do, it's not possible. But you just have this opportunity to already be down because, let's say I put my entire right hand down and play a B flat, doesn't affect the sound. Right, okay. So that honk squeak is problem number 2. If you do not cover that thumb hole properly, you will get that sound. I think it's also the top finger as well. If you do not cover those holes. Now, clarinet is brutal in that regard. Saxophonists get away scot-free with this particular dilemma. But no, if we don't cover that thumb, then it's going to do that little harmonic jump. How do we help with that? Again, you got to just roll. But also, we want to make sure we take advantage of tonguing that low E. If you try and slur to it, that sometimes helps it stay up. So it doesn't say to slur here, just give that low E a good honk. And think low if it helps. To. You don't want to be playing a low note thinking, he. It's psychologically going to stay high. You want to think, tom. Give it a good honk. Right, let's go back even. Oh, no, we better cover some of these keys, these fingerings. Now, personally, I like to go where the last 3 E's are all right hand, and the previous notes, because of something dictating some left hand. Okay, so there's D flat that kind of pops in there, and because of that D flat, you have to backtrack and realize, oh, that E has to be a right hand. And you think, well, there's no point keeping on changing my E all the time. Let's just keep it consistently a right hand. So you'll start noticing this in the music. Sometimes nice is to keep it always the right hand or keep it always left hand, so you're not swapping all the time. But the key here is you gotta try and pick one that's optimal and stick to it. And you want to write those labels in so you're not second guessing yourself all the time. Put your rights and your lefts in there, put pencil all over your music, just so that when you come to practice this, you're not always second guessing yourself. let's go back. So now we're at the beginning of the tune. Well, the beginning of the section, which is like the tune from the beginning. Okay, that is pretty tricky, that little semiquaver rhythm. We're in a waltz, we're a 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and so we want to go and 1 and 2 and 3 and a 1. The semiquavers aren't swung. The instructions are, you know, a pair of quavers is a swung quaver. So you go ta 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 ta. So as soon as you see a semiquaver, you don't swing those. Those are legit semiquavers. 3 and a 1. So it's going to come as a rush. This will be a point where you're playing on the metronome, and they say that you can get away with 132. 1 and 2 and 3 and a 1. You're gonna fall behind probably here. Ba do ba do ba da 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 ba dum ba da da. This is one of those moments where you get left behind without even realizing it. So this is where a metronome kind of helps out. However, we're trying to get the fingering right and some of the subdivisions. So let's just ignore the metronome for now. So and 1 and 2 and 3 and a 1. And the tune comes back. So let's just try and go from the beginning. Let's see if there's anything else I spot. Remember, it's a happy, chirpy piece. We want to have a nice little bounce. Keep those fingers really close to the keys. Don't flail. Well, I missed. Now, why do I miss that D? Maybe because I intuitively want to go somewhere else. It's a bit of a trap. Put a circle around that D, it keeps falling mean. So I put that little pulse in there just to help with the hearing of what's going on. Of course, you wouldn't want to pulse it when you're playing this for legit, for real. Okay, let's go back. Oh look, the straight eights are back. Well, they have made their first appearance. So we have this is your chance to take a breather. So you've been rocketing along at your 132. Or Chris Gumbley says about 144, but let's just do the what the ABRSM suggests you can do. And that's a lot of pressure. You're so tense because you're performing your piece. Ba do da ba do ba do ba 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 5, and you've got the pause, and you think, do I just jump straight into the next section? You go, no. Take a breather. This is a solo piece. There is no piano accompaniment. There is no one forcing you to push you along and jump into the next section. No, this is your chance to just let the music chill for a sec. And off you go. Okay, so it's just a little chance just to get your heart rate down. Let's go back a little bit more. So that little straight eights quavers was, well, 23, 24, 25, bar 25. So we're going back a bit. Now we're at this 5-4. Okay, the 5-4 in bar 17. We'll start from the low F. And what do we have? The third of our 3 E flats that we use in this piece. So remember, an E flat, one finger, 2 fingers in a side key, or 2 fingers in a banana key. This is your opportunity to do the one finger. Whoops, quick. But again, keep your fingers nice and close to those keys. Cool, now that little cool little riff, right? That's our one finger fingering. Try and keep that slurs the game are going. A lot of offbeat slur. To. Very, very common jazzy thing to do is to have that off to on slur. And then we switch over to a D flat. So we've gone from E flats, now we're doing a little D flat one, so a lot of D flats start hitting the lines. So we're finding these patterns. So we're seeing a lot of E flats, and now a bunch of D flats show up. See how we're always hitting that D flat? So I've gone Now some D flats. So as you play these types of pieces, the more you play them, hopefully the more you start identifying little common patterns to try and help yourself just find a sense of home. You don't want to feel like everything's different all the time, but you want to feel able to try and find those little patterns. Okay, so that's part one. Okay, so that's part number two. We go back to our E flats. Okay, bit of a difference here. They've leaped up to that high F, but it works so nicely with that one fingering. And back to our D flat. And we have, once again, our E flat. We have to use left hand C. Okay, it's pretty much like just got no choice. And then your straight eights, which we did earlier. Whew, okay, so maybe we'll just try and do that one hit. It's kind of a nice little passage here. We'll keep it undercooked. And what happened? I missed that very unique F leap. So you grab a pencil, and sometimes what I like to do is either circle it, just make it look really obvious if something's up, or do an angle bracket, because I like to use those for a leap, something that's a bit bigger than you would expect. It's so nice and cool and unique, but it's breaking the pattern a little bit, so watch out, put that pencil mark in. Let's go back. So we've already kind of played this. We did it at the tempo 1 at bar 28 on that second page. So we'll just do that half first. Okay, so you can hear some of my little mistakes starting to creep in, but what I have done is I got my R and my L and my R and stuff, trying to remind myself, okay, maybe watch out, just get that fingering consistent, and then we go back to the beginning, which I've heard before. Alright, so just a warning about the metronome. This is an unrelenting pace. I'm going to try and play to it, and you'll probably start to hear me start falling behind. Got a little bit ahead at that point. What I'm getting at is there are parts in this piece where you're going to realize that that's too fast a tempo. So once you're starting to piece it all together, you really want to get yourself down to here and then start building yourself up. Now, the metronome serves one major purpose, and that is not so much to keep you in time, but make you aware of where you're accidentally going too fast and where you're accidentally falling behind. So yes, in some ways that's keeping yourself in time, but really you want to set your own pulse, because we've got rubatos and all kind of some molto rallentanos and things. So you want to have a little bit of leeway here. But what it is to stop you from being surprised that you've fallen behind or surprised that you've gone ahead of the beat. But at the same time, you don't want to be putting a whole bunch of mistakes in here. Unfortunately, because of the swing, we can't really break it down into quavers, because this isn't a fancy metronome that's going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 in, although they do exist, and you can get those. Whew, okay, so that was a lot of information. Think of that as a lesson just crammed into however minutes that ended up being. So that's Mind the Gap. I'm not going to play it all the way through because goodness gracious, we've already kind of done that twice anyway in little bits and pieces. So that's Mind the Gap. Hopefully it was useful. Have fun playing it.